Let's rock and roll!
Oh, no.
In the summer of 2019, I was asked by my friends Michael Mayer and John Logan if I would come to a 2-week workshop of a musical they were working on. It turned out to be the Avett Brothers musical. It's almost like an extended audition, those workshops, because it's just, all they're giving you is those 2 weeks. But this time, they were like, hey, do you want to stay involved in this? And that's always the best.
That actually probably sealed my participation in this, because I think I'm cast in this because you were cast in this.
I think maybe it's right. So we get a few months down the road. I got to act and sing with all 10 of the guys who were there to audition for the role of the little brother. And the very last one to show up was my little brother, Adrian Blake Enscoe. So you can take it from here.
Totally. I had received a call back that morning. I've heard you say I showed up like totally sweaty.
He still had his bike helmet on. He was sweaty. That's
I don't
so
know
on
the new
brand now.
song. and I sang that new song with you, and I remember the feeling in the room being like, yeah, that works.
Yeah, and the harmonies were there, and the tone was a match, and just the energy was so clear that this was the guy. And it wasn't my decision, but because I was in the room, he walked out of the room, and we all kind of acknowledged in that moment, well, I think that's got to be the way we go. I hope we can get it. When little brother runs away from home, from the farm, to go on an adventure and finds himself on this whaling ship, I chase him down, I catch him, and just as I'm trying to pull him off the boat leaves. We're both stuck on the boat now. And there's this tug of war between Big Brother and the mate, and we are fighting over his soul. That's the sort of, ephemeral story that's being told. The mate is the darkness, I am the light, and it is, which way is it going to go? I have to go toe to toe and like teeth to teeth with my friend John Gallagher Jr. to do whatever it takes to save this boy.
Meanwhile, Wayne Duvall, the captain, starts as like this man of order who's like making laws, and like by the end of the show, he's like a crumpled ruin of a man.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I feel like that's the balance of that also affects each of us,
For sure.
and we can meter our journeys in that as well. The way that the story is written, we're all archetypes. I don't have a name. Stark doesn't have a name. We're Big Brother, Little Brother, Nate, Captain. We're all part of impulses and feelings that everyone has in each other. And I've heard a lot of people say, like, I can relate with every single character in almost every moment in the play. But it makes sense because, essentially John Logan took these folk songs and wrote a folk tale based on a true event. The power of folk is 4 chords and the truth, right? You write the details of your life in a way that is universal enough for everyone to hear their own story in it. We are the types that we play.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am always jumping around, taking risks and doing crazy stuff. And Stark is like a lot more reasonable, level-headed, and like making good, thought-out choices.
I have a twin brother who is 6 minutes older than me and fraternal, very different from me, both physically and emotionally. He's not my twin brother anymore. He's my older brother because he got married before me. He had kids way before me. And because I'm technically the little brother in that relationship, it's not anything like this. But I found that as I've grown older, I've become a mentor to the kids younger than me, starting when I was in high school. And I was like the nerdy theater guy in my high school. And the younger nerdy theater guys in my high school were like, you're awesome. And I was like, come here, son. I like that role. I find kinship in that role, and it really suits this relationship here.
And I'm actually an older sibling. I have a younger sister. I didn't realize this before. We both, in our real families, occupy the opposite role than what we're playing. We ended up doing the show at Berkeley Rep in 2022, and that was a great show, but it was also the tail end of COVID, and we had to keep canceling shows. The cast got COVID at one point, and so it's like the journey to get to Broadway has been
a story of survival.
Yeah. Every moment of that, every turn that we could not have anticipated, where we were dealt something that we were like, what do we do? It brought us all together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was like forming a brotherhood on a boat, because not only are we like dealing with these adversities left and right, but we're also spending tons of time together on this little lifeboat, like I remember during tech in Berkeley, like we're like spooning in despair, we called it,
We
on
got
the
so used to
lifeboat.
this level of intimacy, physical intimacy.
Stark looked over and he was like, "This is a very strange way to get to know somebody." I remember one of the first times that I met you, we were about to shoot a little promo video, and like immediately I started pouring my heart out to you.
Mhm.
I was like, "Stark, I'm worried. I have this anxiety, and like I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be here." And you're like, "No, you can do it, little brother." And I was like, that you set the tone of this relationship in those few moments. So
Oh, well,
thank you.
my pleasure. There are different ways people bond, and one of the strongest is through hardship, going through something hard together. And so going to Berkeley and riding that COVID roller coaster, and also all of us being away from our families, far away from home in New York, bonded us because we were family. We became family. When we did the show in Berkeley the first time, they only had room for us to share a dressing room. And it started something that continued that bond, deepened the bond, so that when we walked off stage, we were there for each other, physically in the same space. Here on Broadway, the Longacre Theater is tiny backstage. You cannot fit more than a couple people into a dressing room. And so what we decided was that we would take one floor, which isn't big, sounds big. It's just 4 closet-sized dressing rooms. But we're next to each other, the doors stay open. We're walking around, poking our heads in, hanging out with each other the whole time. And that is really useful before and after to just maintain that camaraderie, check in, because every day isn't always a good day. And sometimes we need each other to lean on, or to, vent to, or to like express our feelings to.
And to plot with.
Yes.
It's a show that goes down to the very bottom, but it also uplifts at the end. There is hope. There's unpacking of what has happened at the end. And like the spirit of that has carried off stage. I feel like I've learned my life from these guys. I didn't even think I would be on Broadway like 5 or 6 years ago, because I am in a folk band, and I thought I have a folk voice. I'm like, what business do I have? And you paved the way for me, Stark, like even before I met you, because you were singing in Kinky Boots and American Idiot and these projects that were like not Broadway voice projects. It feels like such a beautiful opportunity that was built by other people.
Wow.
Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you a secret. I feel like a total imposter as a Broadway musical theater star. I also grew up singing in bands and singing along to the radio, and I love classic musical theater, but it's not the kind of, my voice doesn't do that. It's crazy to think that I have, paved a way for anyone, but I'm happy to say that.
Yeah, you, Wayne, and Johnny have taught me that that you have to trust yourself. I could have dived into neuroses so easily, and truly, because you guys always were encouraging, I was able to ride through it. Now we're here.
That's the story. When I was making my Broadway debut in Journey's End in 2007, I was 28 years old. I all of a sudden was finding myself on Broadway in my first professional theater job, and I was terrified. And I looked to the guys in the cast, and it was a small cast of all men, about World War I, British officers in a bunker together, enduring a hardship, and it bonded us. I'm so happy to now hear that I can be a model for other people. Because I was you in 2007.
Well, the show is about survival after a shipwreck, and it's become this weird life imitating art moment for us, because we're just clinging on. But there's also we're really buoyed by the support that the audience is coming. I mean, within a couple of days of the announcement that we were closing, the rest of the show sold out. So it felt like there was momentum. And so when we found out that we were going to be extending, that felt so right.
Anytime a show is ending or you're leaving a run, all of a sudden lines that you say and lines that you hear will take on a new meaning relevant to the fact that it's going to end soon. And this is a show where the whole time we're saying, let it end, finish the story. Johnny sings at the end of the show, if you live the life you're given, you won't be scared to die. And I'm putting that in the context of the fact that we get these last 2 weeks. Let's just do the best we can and finish strong. It's thrilling every night. It feels like opening night.
One of the things that's cool about being a music artist is that you get to create your own work, and you get to negotiate your relationship with the audience in a less controlled environment. And I feel like we've gotten to touch on shades of that with this production, decreasing the space between the stage and the music. There's like, it feels really authentic, and that's carried into the stage door line too. We go out, we like are performing the songs directly in front of people, like within spitting distance, and then like hanging out with them after the show. I think it says something about our play that people will give us these tearful renditions of how they feel after the shows, and tell us sometimes like about things in their life that it conjured up, and we'll be like, I need to show my sibling this because this is how I feel about siblingship.
Those stage door experiences are sacred to me. I always want to show up, make eye contact, listen. I want to check on them and make sure they're okay, because the show is a wild ride. The stage door is a place where people, it's their chance. It means something to them to tell us what they thought, and I don't ever want to deny somebody that. The most recent favorite moment for me is in The Little Boat. There's a moment where John Gallagher Jr., as the mate, just takes us on a ride and tells us the story of his life and all the places he's been and all the things he's done. And we just lock eyes with him for the whole time. And he is absolutely phosphorescent in this moment. I mean, it is thrilling and terrifying. I look forward to it every night.
One evergreen for me is getting to sing Murder in the City with Stark. It's a song that Scott Avett sings usually solo in their show now. It is about brotherhood, but we have been able to write this story in it about memory and about our family and just about the moment to moment that's happening. It's also, I mean, it's a deeply felt song, but there's a lot of humor in it. And it's been really satisfying, especially in the last couple of weeks, to feel the humor in the song at the same time as hearing people sniffling. And I'm like, that's what music is supposed to be.